Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Oskar Levander and I work for Konsberg Maritime. First, I would like to thank the organizers of Kormarine Conference for inviting me to speak here today. Unfortunately, I cannot be there in person, so I'm sending this video recording of my presentation instead. The topic of today is recent development of autonomous vessels that we are working on in Konsberg. But to set the scene a little bit, you can say that there are two main trends in the maritime industry. One is around the environment, and the other one is around digitalization. And on the environmental side, one of the main sub-trends that we see today is the energy transition or fuel transition, whatever you want to call it. And that is when we're going to shift towards low carbon fuels. On the digitalization side, on the other hand, the main sub-trend is probably remote autonomous shipping. And that is the topic of my presentation here. You can say that digitalization is going to change our industry. Yes, it's going to bring a lot of new technology, but it's not only about adding fancy gear and new tech on board. It's actually about how this digitalization will change the operation, the way we manage our vessels, and the way we do business. On the operational side, we're going to see the introduction of remote control. We're going to see how vessels are going more autonomous, and this will enable the people to do more value-adding tasks than to just navigate and do lookout. So we can expect much more performance out of the vessels in the future. It's also going to change the way we manage our ships. It's going to bring in tools like predictive maintenance and ways of kind of optimizing the service we do on vessels. It's going to enable remote connections, so you don't always need to travel on board a vessel. You can have an expert in the loop that is supporting things. And fundamentally, it's going to bring totally new business models to our industry. And one of these big changes that we're going to see driven by digitalization is the introduction of remote autonomous ships. When we talk about this, many people quickly think about unmanned shipping. And yes, we will have unmanned ships on the water in the future. But remote autonomous is a much broader topic than that. There are many aspects related to it. The technology that we are developing for autonomous shipping will also go on board manned vessels. So we're going to see more advanced maneuvering systems. We're going to see enhanced navigation tools, and we're going to basically improve the safety by bringing on board situational awareness. And we're also going to connect up the vessels with the shore operations. So we're going to have remote operation centers from where a lot of different tasks are performed, both for manned vessels, but also unmanned vessels. So there's many different aspects of remote autonomous. If you look at the timeline, you can say that we are still in the early days of the development of remote autonomous vessels. We are still learning. Yes, we have some smaller USVs on the water that are in operation, and we are working on some short sea vessels to gearing them up. But it's still early days. Eventually, we're going to move on to more vessels, slightly larger vessels, and then at the end, we're going to move towards large ocean-going cargo vessels that operate internationally. The timeline of this is still a little bit open, and probably what is going to set the time of the introduction of international shipping is more the regulation rather than the technology. And hopefully, we will have IMO regulations in place in about 10 years' time from now. At the same time we see these ship applications, we will see also a lot of other tools and equipment that will be rolled out as standalone products from this remote autonomous development. For example, we already have automatic crossing and docking functions, and situation awareness is coming very soon. So there's a lot of standalone products that we will roll out over the years here as well. So for example, one of these products that is coming or is already here is situation awareness. That is really when we take a lot of sensor input from radar, camera, AIS, digital charts, and so on, and fuse all that together to create a holistic view of what's happening around the vessel, to create a better awareness for the crew on board the vessel. And of course, this will also be used for the autonomous system when it's navigating to know what's happening around the vessel. And I think in the same way that we today have radar on board vessels and take it for granted, and it's actually mandatory to have a radar on ships. In the future, basically all ships will have situation awareness, and it will become mandatory to have on board bigger vessels. So it is one of these great technologies that will enhance safety of shipping. Another thing that we also have in place is advanced maneuvering functions, such as automatic crossing or automatic docking. Here in the video, you see Buster Fosen's ferry that automatically can transit from one port to the other one. And the point with this is to basically do the crossing more efficiently and consistently. You can see on the left-hand side of the chart the difference between manual operation and automatic operation. But in this case, I mean, this is still automatic. It's not autonomous. So the captain is still on the bridge and he needs to watch out for other traffic and avoid other ships. And that is the next step of the development, to turn this into an autonomous navigation system. And we are working on this. And when we're talking about autonomous navigation system, it's everything from basically planning the route that the vessel should take into executing that. And then, of course, when you execute the route, the system should also avoid obstacles and avoid collisions. And it needs to do this in a call-right compliant way. When we think about unmanned ships, we always refer to this as remote and autonomous, because it's always going to be a combination of remote operation and autonomous operation. A pure autonomous or pure remote ship is probably quite unlikely, because you always need to have a remote supervision, even for the most advanced autonomous vessel. You want to be able to see what it's doing and step in if something happens. And in the same way, for a remote control vessel, if you lose connection, the ship needs to have some autonomous capability to know what to do in that situation. So we always see it as a mix. And for having remote operation, you need a center from where to drive the ship and supervise it. And we have built these operation centers for that. And there's a lot of different functions that you can do in an operation center. For existing vessels with crew on board, you can do remote monitoring and you can support them, having kind of an expert in the loop. And then when it comes to unmanned vessels, you can actually control them, remotely steer them, or you can monitor or supervise what they are doing. And we can also think about actually controlling ships with crew on board. We can, for example, let the crew rest at night while the basically team in the remote operation center take over. So you can more efficiently plan your what the crew is doing and what they are doing and maximizing their performance. And it's not only about individual vessels, it's also about the entire fleet. So the remote operation will also do mission management, scheduling things, resource management, planning, maintenance tasks, and a lot of other things that will be done in the remote operation center. So you see, there's a lot of different type of operations that will be done from these remote operation centers in the future. And we have done many prototypes of this center. And this is the first station that we have delivered for a commercial client. And this is for Masterly. And this will be used for operating some of the vessels that I will talk about later here in my presentation. But first, Masterly is an interesting company. It's a joint venture between Konsberg and Wilhelmsen. And it's really there to develop autonomous maritime market. You can say that Konsberg is bringing the technology part and Wilhelmsen is bringing the operation experience. So Wilhelmsen has got a vast experience of operating hundreds of ships out there and is one of the companies with the largest maritime network out there today. So it's great to team up with them and form this Masterly that will service the autonomous shipping market. Then to look a little bit about on the different projects that we are working on right now. We have many different projects related to remote autonomous ships, and many of them are in the development stage, but also some are already on commercially ready, like this sounder. So this is a small USV that we call the sounder, and this is really for performing hydroacoustic tasks. So it's an unmanned vessel that can go out and survey the seabed, or it can go out and find fish. And that is actually the first application for this vessel. It is used to monitor and search for fish so that the larger fishing vessels don't need to spend time and energy on going around to try to find the fish. So basically, this sounder will report back to the fishing fleet where the fish is, and the fishing fleet can directly go and start fishing. So this is about saving cost and energy and utilizing your resources more efficiently. Then maybe a more known project that hopefully many of you have heard of, and that is Yara Birkeland. This is a zero-emission container vessel that will become remote, autonomous, and unmanned. The ship in itself is designed to transport containers from Yara's factory to a bigger seaport where bigger ocean-going vessels can access and then transport the containers further out into the world. And today, the operation has been done with trucks. So this is really to take trucks off the road and do it more environmentally friendly, because this ship is powered by batteries. It's 100% electrical, this ship. It's also going to be automatic in mooring on board and cargo handling. And it's going to be operated and from masterless station that I showed earlier. And Konsberg is bringing the remote autonomous system and the integration. And right now we're also doing the wheelhouse of the vessel that eventually will come off. The project itself started back in 2018 with the planning and then the designing of the vessel the year after. And in 2020, the construction of the vessel started. And in 21, it was delivered. So basically the vessel is there, but it's currently a manned vessel. And we have this small bridge on the ship that will be lifted off. And right now we are basically doing testing and development of the remote autonomous system and ensuring that everything is functioning. So if you look at the timeline, we are now really, we are operating the vessel, but also at the same time testing and developing the remote autonomous solution. And when we are happy with the performance, we will go for approval, and then hopefully in 2024, the vessel will start its commercial operation in unmanned mode. And then there will be no deck house on the vessel anymore. Another project that is ongoing at the same time is for ASKO. ASKO is a gross retailer in Norway, and they have a lot of trucks driving around with products. And they want to cross the Oslo fjord to avoid driving around the whole fjord. And this can be done with a small ferry. And they want to do it environmentally friendly. So they have commissioned 2 battery-powered ro-ro ferries to take trucks across the fjord. And these vessels will also be unmanned. So we are in the process of developing and outfitting them for remote autonomous operation. Currently, the vessels were delivered now during the summer from Asia to Norway. And in Norway, they will then be fitted with the remote autonomous technology. And they take about 16 trucks per vessel. Another exciting project is for Reach Subsea. This is a totally new type of vessel. This is a ROV mother vessel that is unmanned. So an ROV, or this remote operated vehicle, this submarine, that is doing a lot of different tasks underwater, is normally supported by a big vessel on the surface. And that vessel is providing power and connection, and you have the operator sitting on board the vessel. What Reach Subsea want to do is to move the operator ashore to enhance the work environment, and also at the same time reduce cost and improve efficiency. And that they will do by having, instead of having this big mother vessel at the surface, having a small unmanned surface vessel that is providing power and connection to the ROV. So you see the ROV is coming out from the bottom of this mother vessel, and it gets the electrical power and connection from the vessel, but also this mother vessel will do the launch and recovery. And in fact, the mother vessel can also do some surveys of the seabed with sensors fitted to the hull. In general, the exciting thing with this concept is how it will disrupt the market. Because you can imagine that today, when you have an ROV, you normally have an offshore support vessel at the surface that is maybe 60 or 100 meters long, and it has 20 people on board. That costs a lot to build, and it costs a lot to operate. When we replace this mother vessel, this big manned vessel, with a small unmanned 24-meter long remotely operated vessel, we will save a lot of money. The investment cost will go down because this remotely operated vessel is so much smaller. The energy demand is much smaller, so less fuel consumption. And of course, the operating cost, the crewing cost will also go down because we have significantly less people involved. So the vessel itself is unmanned. There's just some operators in the shore center. So it is really going to disrupt the market of ROV operations by going this way. Other exciting projects that we are working on are, for example, for Ekornes and DB Schenker. They are looking for a similar ro-ro ferry to transport trucks as for ASCO case. But in this case, the vessel will operate in Ålesund and slightly longer distance. And this will also be a battery-powered vessel. And it's a FEED study at the moment. And then we are working on a EU project called AutoShip. And there we are working on remote autonomous systems for a fish feed carrier and an inland waterway barge. So when we look at all these projects that we have ongoing, you can see that there are clear drivers for going for remote autonomous operation. Maybe the main one is money. We can save a lot of cost, both, especially on the operating side, we can reduce the cost, but also in some cases we reduce the cost on the investment side, the capital. And that is when we can go to a smaller vessel, like for the Reach Subsea case. So there is a strong monetary driver for going for remote autonomous. Another driver is the environment. As you saw, many of these vessels that we are working on are actually battery powered, and the customers want zero emission. So you can say remote autonomous go hand in hand with sustainability. And even if you don't go 100% battery, I mean, the vessels tend to be smaller, consume less energy when they are unmanned. Safety is another driver. We provide a safer working environment for the people. If they can sit ashore instead of on the ship, it will be safer. But also the technology will drive up the safety when we have automatic systems doing the watch out. It's always alert. It doesn't get tired and things like this. So we can enhance safety as well for these vessels. Other owners that are going for remote autonomous is looking for risk reduction or totally new business models, like in the case for Reach Subsea. When we look at the development of this remote autonomous shipping, you can say that you can identify two different paths. One path is where we incrementally increase the automation level in the vessel. So for example, we add situation awareness, then collision avoidance, and then maybe we go to solution where you can have a zero manned bridge for part of the voyage, but still have crew on board the vessel. And this is the kind of we add on more advanced automation step by step, and we prove it along the way. The other pathway is where we go to a fully unmanned remote autonomous vessel from the start, but we start with a small vessel. We start with a USV, then we go to a workboat or a ferry, and then we scale it up to a small cargo vessel going short distance, and then we go to slightly bigger vessels going longer distance until we get to the final solution of big ocean-going unmanned vessels. And in Konsberg, we are actually working along both pathways. As you see, many of the projects we right now have in our under development are for this kind of completely remote autonomous solutions, like this Asko ferry or the Reach Subsea or Yara Birkeland. While then many of the products that we are bringing along, like auto crossing, auto docking, collision avoidance, and these things, are along the other pathway. Personally, even though we are working on both pathways, I personally think that that the blue pathway, or going for a full unmanned solution from the start, is going to bring us quicker to the end goal. And that is because there we see a stronger business case. Already from these small vessels have a very good business case behind them, and that means that there is a strong market pull from the owners for going this way. And that will probably get us to the end goal a little bit quicker. But to conclude, you can say that the remote autonomous revolution is happening. It is here. We can see it. We have so many projects and interested owners right now that we are clearly on the path to this. And when you look back, I mean, in 2013, 14, when I started developing these solutions, we had a slogan that said that the best way to predict the future is to create the future. We had the vision that, yeah, remote autonomous shipping is coming. And we really thought that the best way to ensure that this prediction will come true is that we take an active lead and we develop it and we create this future. And that is what we did or are in the middle of doing. And you can say that it's been quite a successful journey so far. And we are truly on the verge of a new era in shipping as we know it. Thank you very much for your attention.